Ladies and gentlemen, it's week 7. You know what time it is. That's right. It is lightning round time. Of course, you've got Kevin Tompkins here, Mr. Gary Haddow, Mr. Andrew Cooper. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Best day of the week. Hump day.
Yeah. Getting the boys together, talk a little ball. What's better than that?
We want to talk some puck here, the Quebec Nordiques. You drop the puck or what? Hockey pod?
I'll do a little.
You want to go, eh? You want to go?
Puck chat, dude. How about Evander Kane faking a COVID vaccine thing, getting suspended 20 games? What a doofus, dude! Like, that's my puck take. Oh my god! And he just got through. His girlfriend hit up the league because he was like being a jerk or whatever. And he was like, "Yeah, this guy bets on games every week."
Yes, I did see that.
And he got through that investigation, and another investigation got him suspended. Like, dude, what an idiot!
Attaboy, that's how we do it. But that's the extent of our hockey talk. Let's talk some football here because we got some week 7 some action here. It's bye week hell this week. Like, you're talking right now, what? Cowboys, Vikings, Chargers, Jaguars. It's bad. I know I missed a team or two there, but
I've been warning my followers for like weeks of this, dude. Literally 2 weeks. I've been like, dude, every bye week tight end that you've added goes on bye the same week. Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz, Dan Arnold, Jared Cook, Pat Fryermuth, like all the way down, man. Like, it's a mess. So Tyler Conklin, if you're terrible at this, so.
Yeah, Buffalo and the Steelers too. If you're terrible at this, Pat Fryermuth if you're even worse. Right. But yeah, so or Tommy Sweeney if you're really hurting, like probably me and Scott Fishbowl in about a month.
Sween dog, dude, he runs a mean like 4.8 540. So yeah, that's the guy you're gonna want.
Brady-esque right there.
I would rather start George Fant at tight end than.
And then I'm not talking about I'm talking about like Kyle Brady.
Kyle Brady. I'd rather start Kyle Brady than Tommy Sweeney.
That's where we're at right now. But amidst bye week hell, let's talk into some our strategy session here. So for week 7, normally go on a pretty set schedule here, but one player that we're excited to watch in week 7. I'll let you guys battle it out. I always divvy this out to you guys to start first.
And I usually let Gary go ahead. So, Gary, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm just going to go to what I think is one of the waiver wire darlings, if not the best waiver wire ad so far this season. And it's came out of nowhere, and it's Cordero Patterson. The reason I'm excited to watch him, I think that there's been a hesitancy with Cordero to decide, is this real? Are we actually seeing what we're seeing? Is this going to continue? And I couldn't decide which answer this should go. And am I excited? Am I nervous? Or is this something I want more information on? But ultimately, I'm going to go with my optimism here and say, coming out of the bye week, I mean, I think right now he is one of their best offensive weapons. We see him continually getting used in the passing game in particular. And even if his touchdowns, have been aggregated in 2 games, but he got 5 touchdowns in those 2 games, he's still had a really high target floor, reception floor, yardage, all that stuff. And I think that, we'll talk about it later, but I'm really, really interested every year in teams after their bye weeks and seeing what they do coming out of them and how they reconfigure their offenses. And in this case, I just feel like Patterson's has to stay just as integrated, if not more integrated than he has been. Because, ultimately you have Mike Davis and you have Wayne Gallman, and neither of them instill any sense of confidence coming out of that backfield. So I'm excited to see what happens. It's a good week to do it. I think they're going against Miami. I actually really wanted to even start, Matt Ryan in a few leagues where I had a, bye week pinch and whatnot, just because I think they're going to get it going, maybe get Calvin Ridley going. Hopefully it doesn't take away too much from Patterson, but regardless, I'm just excited to see what he can do because he's kind of been a revelation at age 28, 29, randomly this far into his career.
Yeah, Cordell Patterson, however you want to shake it out with Miami, I believe Miami is 31st against fantasy running backs. If you want to play the wide receiver card, they're 29th against opposing wide receivers. So either way, it's a good matchup, depending on what side of the coin you're on with Cordell Patterson. We've seen him clearly be a focal point of this offense. Even, not even just in the receiving game, but the dude's increased, but for the bye week, when they were in London, he had 14 carries as well. So you're talking 23 opportunities with targets and carries included. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, Jared Berry, you want to call him a gimmick player? Like, the gimmick's up, man. The Cordero Patterson is, I don't know. I say for real, but I guess there's a caveat to that, because the back of my mind wants to say that the shoe's going to drop somewhere, but I just don't know. I think he is that ingrained into this offense as a secondary option in an offense that has needed it, because Mike Davis hasn't been all that efficient. They've had Russell Gage pretty much on the shelf for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Kyle Pitts is certainly there too. It's pretty much Pitts and Patterson vying for number 2 viability there, and both are definitely worthy of that. Pitts had that big touchdown in a big game with Cal really not there in London in week 5. So they've had a bye week there to kind of reset everything. Patterson's here to stay. I like him as a fringy RB1, RB2 kind of deal. I think he certainly does enough in the receiving game to warrant that type of lofty expectation.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy to think, like, every once in a while you have a guy like this where he plays for one team under one coach like his whole career and never really breaks out because they're using him wrong, right? But like in this situation, he's played for Minnesota, he's played for Oakland, he's played for the Patriots, he's played for the Bears. Like, everyone had a chance to use this guy the way that he is being used now, and he looks amazing. So this is kind of how I feel about the way he's been used so far.
It makes no sense at all.
That he would just all of a sudden at 30 years old. So running backs, in anyone that plays Dynasty, when a running back turns 25, you start getting nervous, right? But this dude all of a sudden as a wide receiver starts playing running back at 30, and now he's amazing. It's crazy. It makes no sense at all. But like Kev said, I'm so on board with it. He looks good. The numbers are there, and I'm not a film grinder by any means, but I mean, the numbers are there and he looks good. What can you really say? So, I mean, Cordero Patterson, start him wherever you got him.
It's crazy.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? And I'm not sure if you guys remember 2006 Lions. Yes, the 3-13, not quite 0-16, but Mike Furry was a former defensive back, and then under the Mike Martz offense, caught 100 balls in that offense. From, I believe it was from Joey Harrington. Was it that far back? Anyway, yeah, Mike Furry was a defensive back with the Rams, came over to Detroit, switched to wide receiver, came out of literal nowhere to catch 100 balls. And then he caught like 60 and then was basically out of the league. But that you don't see – you see these guys coming a little bit, but not to this extent with Patterson. That's what that kind of reminds me of.
That is crazy, but I totally forgot about that guy until you brought him up just now. Like the D-back converted to wide receiver that has 100. I just pulled it up. 146 targets. Like, that is outrageous, dude. That's what the Lions were doing though during that period. Like, they had a few guys that had like 170 targets, and not just Calvin Johnson either. They had another. Sean McDonald got a ridiculous number of targets for them back in the day, and there was another dude.
Roy Williams,
Herman
Moore.
Herman Moore, dude. Herman Moore had like, I got to pull this up, dude. I swear.
Rashad Perriman's dad, Brent Perriman, was on that team too.
I swear to God, Herman Moore had back-to-back seasons with like.
He was like the best receiver outside of like Sterling Sharp in like 93, 94.
Dude, he had back-to-back seasons of. Are you ready for this? So he had 3 seasons in a row. One season he had 170 targets. Another season he had 178 targets, and then the other season he had 206 targets.
That's wild.
That's apparently real. 206.
Yeah,
that is just chucking. That's hucking. That's hucking chucking football right there, folks.
That was. I believe that was Scott Mitchell too.
Yeah, that's 95. So
95. Maybe that might have been Eric Kramer or something like that. But yeah, that's football.
I miss that, man. Fantasy would have been easy back then.
Easy game.
It used to be. It was like one tight end, 2 wide receivers, and 1 running back that played every single snap. Man, fantasy used to be so easy.
Yeah, you could draft your quarterback in the first round, and nobody would care.
Right? Yeah. Everyone. The first 2 rounds of my leagues were running backs every time because it was like you go back to like 2001, 2002 when I first started playing. It was like Priest, Holmes, Sean Alexander. Yeah, like the running back 15 had like 1,400 yards from scrimmage, like Thomas Jones and all these guys. Like every team just used 1 running back. That's just how you did it. Now it's like insane. Now the Ravens have 7 running backs.
And Derrick Henry's on pace for 2,328 touchdowns.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's like the time machine running back from 2001, right? He's like that like Larry Johnson guy. That's just like, give me the ball 7,000 times.
Run him into the ground.
Yeah, I'm on board. All right, so I guess I'll do mine then. So this is the player that Kev, why don't you go?
The player that we're excited about. And you know what? I am back on the train for Laviska Shenault. Laviska Shenault is not just a gadgety slot guy anymore. Since DJ Chark went down, he is now running quite a bit of routes on the outside. In week 6, he ran 3/4 of his routes, 74% from the outside. He did mix in a little bit in the slot, but we're seeing Jamal Agnew be the primary slot guy in this offense now. So from the move from the slot to the outside, that's going to boost the ceiling for Laviska Shenault to where this is what we wanted him to be. We wanted him to be able to get more opportunities outside and not just be a kind of that gimmicky gadget player where Laviska Shenault can use his size outside to be able to beat, smaller corners. That's what we want. Now, Trevor Lawrence, we know he can get them the ball. They're going to have plenty of opportunities to be able to do that. When they're going to be in negative game scripts, when they're just throwing for their life and maybe bringing another number 1 overall pick into the fold for 2022. But for right now, in an offense that, yes, has Marvin Jones, has these, Dan Arnold, whatnot, I think Laviska Shenault is probably the most athletic option of this entire offense. I think that they've criminally misused him this year, and I would say part of last year too. I'm very much in on Laviska Shenault now that he has this role change, and we were worried, but I'm perfectly fine with him on my bench. Just kind of a wait and see how he does in this role. I mean, he certainly was inefficient in his first week, running outside, but now I'm in.
Hey, Kev, the Jaguars are on bye week, right?
That's fine.
I'm really excited, dude.
I'm really excited.
About this. On Sunday, he's gonna be like, I can't wait till week 8. I get to watch this guy right now.
I'm putting my feet up here.
Scrubs.
I'm putting my feet up here. You know what? I'm excited. I'm like Homer Simpson with the pennant that just says Laviska Shenault.
That's
you get me for the next 2 weeks.
That's what you get from lightning rounds, dude. We're from the future, so we're not even talking about this week. We're talking about next week. We're talking about
all weeks. All weeks.
People you are excited about for weeks 7 and 8.
7 and beyond, to infinity and beyond. Yeah,
that's right.
So, but yeah, I mean, Shenault, the thing is, like I said, not a big film guy, but like watching him, like, anytime I draft a guy in Dynasty, whatever, I like want to see what I'm working with here, man. That guy, like, he has no fear of, putting his head down and just like going at the defenders. Kind of reminds me of your guy there, Deebo Samuel. Gary, yeah.
Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, I guess Cordell Patterson too. But he has he feel like he looks for contact. You know what I mean? And AJ Brown to a certain degree, like these guys are, born to play football. Like some guys play scared, dude. Laviska Shenault is just he's fierce, so he's fun to watch regardless, So
yeah, I'm going to say here, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm just going to put on highlights, and I'm just going to watch it for the rest of the show.
You should put him on, man. Colorado State, dude. I've seen him take a full-on headshot that was a penalty for headhunting, and he just bounced off and got 17 more yards. Like that guy was just a force. Probably always why he gets hurt so much. Yeah. But so for me this week, I'm going with Dallas Goddard. And I'm a tight end. To a certain degree, I'm a tight end snob. Like when I do my rankings, I have my standalone guys that are in their own tier, right? The guys that you only, the guys I say you can roster them and you don't roster anyone else. For everyone else, I say you should roster 2 tight ends. But if you have, Kelsey, Waller, Mark Andrews, Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts, I say you can get away with just rostering those guys, adding somebody for the bye week, and then dropping them, right? So it's kind of tough for me to get into that tier. But we're talking about a guy here, Dallas Goddard, who last year when Zach Ertz was hurt, he, like week 12, for instance, he moved in the slot, played like 36 slot snaps, had a 95% route participation. He was a totally different player when Ertz wasn't on the team at the time. Then Ertz came back for week 14, and Goddard played like 9 slot snaps. He only had like a 60-something% route participation. Totally different. Like he gets forced inside because he's a better blocker. But now that Ertz is gone, I'm excited to see if we get that Goddard, the kind of Goddard that plays wide receiver. He plays a ton of slot, plays split out wide. They bring in another guy like, I forget what the guy's name is even now. That's on their depth chart there. He's some
Jack Stoll.
Jack Stoll, dude. Yeah, that's right. Jack Stoll. He's just a clunky guy that comes in. Like if he's coming in to play that inline role, Stoll is, and Goddard gets to play the Ertz role, then it's wheels up. And if that happens this week, I will move Goddard into that coveted top tier. The next closest guy to my top tier to maybe getting added would be Dalton Schultz coming out of the bye week. If he can keep doing what he's doing, then now it's like, okay, he doesn't have a bye anymore. That's just your tight end. You're just using him. You know what I mean? But even he has Michael Gallup coming back. But Goddard, he has got a path to being a top 2 target on the team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we want. That's what you want in your tight ends is you want that top 2 designation. And, Goddard we've talked about it ad nauseum. We're talking about like Devonta Smith is after him. Who's it going to be? There's so much ambiguity between all those other pass catchers, and nobody's really stepped up. I mean, Rager's flashed, Quez Watkins has flashed. Goddard really hasn't gotten the opportunity because Ertz has been there. Neither of the running backs really. I mean, geez. But Goddard has a real opportunity to finally be that guy now. And, there's not anybody really to take anything behind him. Jack Stoll, I'm not exactly worried about that. I believe they have Tyree Jackson on their practice squad, I want to say, who's a converted quarterback from Buffalo. So, yeah.
Practice squad.
I believe he was. He might have gone on IR. Last time I saw it, that he was getting looked at least on the practice squad. Anyway, that may not be true, but still, I mean, that just cements Goddard in there as a top 2.
My only concern would be like, Eli Wolf is out there, so he's always an option for teams to bring in. We haven't mentioned Eli Wolf in a couple months here, so I'd just throw him in there.
We can't. Yeah, maybe make a deal for Johnny Munt.
Johnny Munt's hurt, man. I'm going to talk about that with my next one. If you want to go right into players that you're nervous about for week 7,
get them.
Could be a little transition. So that's my transition into that so I'm worried about Tyler Higbee, and Higbee's a guy that he should have a good matchup technically, right? But and I hate bringing up the 49ers a ton because Gary always brings them up. But our 49ers, our favorite team, they. The first week against them, they were beating Detroit so badly that Dallas that they didn't even use George Kittle. Like he was used to block. They were up by 30 points until there were 6 minutes left in the game, and then it kind of went off the rails. But at that point, you don't even really need to use Kittle. So he blocked on 7 pass plays. They didn't really use him. So now you're going into this week where I think they are 15-point favorites or something like that, which is monster favorites. For a 4:00 game. And Johnny Munt's out. So now Tyler Higbee is the best blocking tight end in that room. So it could just very easily be a day where the Rams are up by a ton and they just want to get the game over and get out of there without people getting hurt. And I think that, in a week where there's so many tight ends on bye, a lot of people are going to be starting Tyler Higbee. And I'm a little concerned that he could just put up one of those days where, the team throws 20 times because they're crushing. So I am a little worried just for this week about Tyler Higbee and also for many weeks because we talk about top 2 target on the team. To me, it's Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. It's not Tyler Higbee. So
yeah, it's Go ahead, Gary.
No, Higbee is just such an enigma right now. Like I feel like he kind of is who we thought he was going to be. I mean, there was obviously the people that were hoping that he was going to ascend to the next level without Gerald Everett, and ultimately, like I did like a really dumpster trade for him of sending like Sony Michel for him, but I thought, hey, I finally got at least a top 10 tight end, and like sure, maybe end of season it'll be that way, but you're never going to feel comfortable starting him. And yeah, I just I don't know when you're ever going to feel comfortable starting him, like, and especially in this matchup. Like I just don't. I completely agree with what you said, and I think that if nothing less, like they're just going to run Henderson a whole bunch because they don't really need to do much else.
I think that's the perfect. The words you said there. Sorry to interrupt, Kev, but the words you said there are the perfect description for Tyler Higbee, an end of season top 10 tight end, which is in fantasy. That's not even a real tight end you can use. Like think about Jonnu Smith last year. He was tight end like 8 or 9 or something, and he had like 5 weeks in a row with 2 or fewer catches. Like if you drafted Jonnu Smith, you needed to add and start a different tight end. Same with Hayden Hearst. Hayden Hearst was technically a top 10 tight end, right? But going into the playoffs, these were the games he had 0 catches. Zero catches, 4 catches, 1 catch, 1 catch. Like that is a on paper back, top 10 tight end, but not a real tight end that you could actually start. Like you'd have to be outside of your mind to start that guy in your playoffs, So I think that's a great. I'm going to start using that, Gary. We'll trademark it for you, but a end of season what would you say? A end of season top 10. Yeah.
And I officially relinquish all rights to you. You're welcome to do it. Just give me a hug or something if we ever meet up.
I appreciate that. I'll definitely. I'll bring you some craft beers when we meet up.
There we go.
Look at that. Can you feel the love?
And you feel we got to add that to the
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug. That's what we add.
Instead, we have the stupid ones that we have in there.
You sound like you're from London.
And they're only going to get stupider every week, people. Yeah, I mean, the Rams, it's weird because you have such a clear divide between Kupp and then Woods, and then it's like just a weird, murky second tier. And I would almost put Higbee as like, if you're talking Kupp and Woods are the tier 1, Higbee is like 1.9 tier, and then like Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson, whatever, like the second tier. Like he's just enough above those guys, but he is nowhere close to the top, where you can never depend on Tyler Higbee to provide any sort of target floor. It's really just he is a literal dart throw. So that is basically every tight end 2 at this point, and that's pretty much what he is. So
right. Yeah, it starts because it was like it's the games with 1 and 2 targets, really. Because if he just had his worst game was like 3 targets, then I'd be like, you know what, I kind of like him. But it's the fact that he goes out there and he'll give you 1 catch for 8 yards or 2 for 14.
Production wise, he's like Tunyon, but on an offense that actually wants to pass the ball.
Yeah. All right. Well, who are you guys worried about? The nervous about ones make me nervous every week. Every week you guys say somebody, and I'm like, God.
Let's see what tight ends go with Kevin.
Yeah, let's stick with the tight end. So, I mean, Evan Engram, gets Coop's boy. Look at that smirk. I can already see like, oh, here we go.
I'm muting myself because I'm incapable of an unbiased take on this part.
I mean, for once, someone else gets to talk about Evan Engram. I mean, the fact that the Giants are so bereft of pass catchers right now, and the fact that they had to dig up the bones of Dante Pettis for 11 targets last week, you mean to tell me with Sterling Shepard, he's always going to get targets whenever he's playing. You're telling me that Evan Engram couldn't muster anything more than like 5 targets in this offense? Like, there is no sign of life right now from Evan Engram on any front. He's not really earning targets. He's out there on like between 70 and 75% of routes every week, but he's just not earning targets in this offense. It's really a scary proposition. And trust me, this is somebody that has a lot of Evan Engram as far as a tight end that, he had 100 targets last year. I mean, he got there. I mean, as gross as it kind of was at times, he still got to that threshold and was at least moderately productive. Now, you can't really even start him at this point. I mean, you kind of have to if you have him, just based on how gross the position is, and it's either start him or like Harrison Bryant. And good luck with that. But yeah, Evan Engram in this offense, it's just I'm looking at all these guys, and we know Kadarius Toney is likely out, this week. Or he's going to be out this week. Kenny Galladay's hurt. Darius Slayton might be coming back. We know it's really Shepard right now. Dante Pettis may have a role there too, but is it bad that in 2021, the year of our Lord, I'm willing to trust Dante Pettis over Evan Engram in target hierarchy in this Giants offense?
That's tough, man. That feels
Tough scene.
It's just brutal. Yeah. And the thing is, it's like all the underlying stats are what make him the trap, right? Because like anyone looking at the box scores would be like, no, you never start this guy. But you do the ball blast article, Kev. I mean, like he's playing a ton of snaps from the slot. He's running a ton of routes. I think he's run this like top. He in the last 2 weeks, if you just take the last 2 weeks, he's played more slot snaps than any other tight end, or run the most routes from slot. And it's like you look at all the numbers behind the scenes. It should be better than it is. So I'm with you on that, Kev. Like he is like the trap game tight end. He has been for a long time. He runs a 4.42 40. You know what I mean? Like he's got everything on paper that would be good, except for when the ball goes to him and right through his hands and right into the defense's hands. So
yeah, is he going to be the next Eric Ebron, like the guy on his second team that finally breaks out? That.
13
or Jared Cook on his like third team. Like that might be they both have those two are athletically gifted as far as being a tight end, with measurables that far exceed a lot of their contemporaries. And then just for whatever reason, Ebron in Detroit couldn't put it together. Jared Cook with the Titans couldn't really put it together. And, we're looking at Evan Engram right now. We know what athletic gifts he has, and just for whatever reason, whether it's just scheme, offense, Jason Garrett, Engram himself just cannot put it all together for a full season. He's been relatively healthy the last couple of years. Certainly more than he has been. So, what can he do but shrug?
Tight end's one of those positions where, like Delaney Walker, for instance, 7 years on Gary's 49ers. This is the 49ers podcast now, by the way. 7 years on the
driving this train.
The quintessential H-back, if you will.
7 years, never had more than 340 something yards and 3 touchdowns. Then he gets traded to the Titans, and he rattles off like 4 seasons in a row with 800 plus yards, including 1,000-yard season. Sometimes it happens like that. Sometimes it be like that. So maybe he's a free agent next year. Him and Mike Gesicki are two guys that basically play wide receiver, don't play tight end, and they could end up somewhere and be good, or they could end up somewhere and just be meh. So we'll see.
Yep.
Dino stashes, those guys.
Delaney Walker's a stud muffin, not gonna lie.
He's a handsome fellow. I haven't seen him in a while. But I know
deep Google.
Yeah.
Gary, what about you, bud?
It's a deep Google. Great hair. Great jaw. He's got a strong jaw. Just the right amount of scruff. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Gary?
So my first
say a little something about how handsome Delaney Walker is first.
Have you seen his legs? Dude's thick.
Wow, yeah.
Dude's just the full profile.
Yeah, it's a trip. He was one of those guys that you're just like, how old are you and how are you still doing what you're doing in the NFL? Right. Especially when in his later years with the Titans. He was just like steady Eddie, like 100. It always felt like he had 100 receptions. I don't know if that was like fully the case, but it always just felt like that. He was locked and loaded. So, but yeah, totally. It wasn't. It really wasn't until he left the Niners that he really came on. So,
well, you guys had that freakazoid tight end for so long.
Vernon Davis, dude,
the painter,
man.
Yeah, he ruined the combine. Yeah, you can't compare any tight ends to his combine because it was so good.
Yep.
The best ever.
Yeah, him and Mike Mamula had the best combines ever.
Jarek McKinnon.
When was Vernon Davis drafted?
2005.
Do you know?
No, sorry. When was he drafted in the draft?
Oh, he was drafted.
Davis was like top 7, wasn't he?
He was drafted in the first round.
He was like 6th overall.
Sixth.
Dude, was amazing.
But it is like 100th. Like if you look at his stats, his combine stuff, 100th percentile. He sets the bar for everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4.38 40.
Yeah.
Bench press like. I think
Then his brother retired at halftime.
Classic.
That was his brother.
Vontae Day, yeah.
I actually no, I did know that. Okay. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about. So like my first guy was like people that were all questioning and whether or not he's the real deal, and that's Cordero Patterson. But now that we're talking about like people that I'm nervous about, I feel like there's, and I've been saying that I feel like Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are their 1A, 1B, and that they're locked and loaded. You can put him as an RB2 or as a flex no matter what. For whatever reason, when Melvin like was banged up, like actually ended up continuing to play, this like groundswell just kept growing for Javonte Williams. And this is me saying I'm nervous about that backfield. They are carbon copies of each other from a fantasy perspective, from a touch perspective. They almost just, it's a 50-50 split. You never want to root for injury in fantasy football because that's just not what we're all about here. Like it's try to be a positive community and environment and all that stuff. And unless you have an injury to one, the other one, yeah, Harry Potter quotes in my head, but I won't drop it. And, I really just feel like you got to temper expectations. Like Dynasty, all whatever ahead for Javonte. Dude's going to be awesome. He looks great. His hurdle last game on his like 30-yard run was awesome. But they're both there and they're splitting time. So I just think people need to remember that. Put them in, and they're a flex at best in this week with everything and everybody out from buys and injuries. Sure, they're going to be an RB2, but I don't know. I got to temper expectations for it. That being said, Melvin Gordon is a little bit older. He's a lot of, wear on the tires. If something happens to him, Javonte is going to be sick. Really.
Now I need to know what that Harry Potter quote is.
Neither one can live while the other survives.
Oh, I like that, dude.
I think it's really good for split backfields.
So you're basically saying that I feel like based on the vibe of what you said, Melvin Gordon is Voldemort.
Oh yeah, of course,
for sure,
totally. Like terrible yards per carry that I just never really liked. And I don't know. He came on later, and like he was always better for a fantasy perspective than for real life, in my opinion.
Volda Gordon.
The third.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that, man. It's like it just saps your energy. Like same thing with the Bills last year, like trying to guess Moss, Singletary.
The Devil's backfield.
Right. It's the dreaded
Rob Zombie movie.
The dreaded nightmare split. Because at least when you have a split like the Texans, right? Take the Texans. When it's a good game script, it's Mark Ingram. When it's a bad game script, it's David Johnson. But all the game scripts are pretty much bad except for that one Jaguars game. So, if you're going to use one, you kind of know which one. In this case, it's split so down the middle. And, Melvin Gordon has a 70-yard TD one week. And then, Javonte hurdles some of the next week. You don't know, and that's the worst kind of, yeah. It's like you feel like fantasy's random enough for you that it's even worse when you're setting your lineup and you're already flipping a coin,
Yeah.
Totally. And
that backfield. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I know that going into draft season, there was like fade Melvin and like go with Javonte and blah, blah, blah. And we're so early in the season. So I know that this all comes with a caveat, but we're talking about week 7, other than Chenault. And
that backfield right now. And I know we're getting up toward Halloween. It's like if you're twins and you have to divvy up Halloween candy, you have to make sure everybody has like a complete split down the middle. He can't get another piece, more than I can. What you're hoping for in this backfield, I mean, for me, because I have a lot of Javonte and not a lot of Melvin Gordon, I'm hoping for the Broncos to just reel off like 3 more losses, 4, heading into the bye week, because I feel like there's a better chance with the Broncos of wanting to see more of Javonte Williams there. So that's probably, if you have Javonte, that's what you're looking for. If they're going to be teetering around 500, it's going to be more of the same, I feel like, outside of an injury. So it's tough. They're splitting receiving work. They're splitting carries. It is literally it's just a nightmare to try to delve into. Oh, it's really not a nightmare because you pretty much know what you're going to get. So it's a nightmare when you're talking about upside not being realized, and not a nightmare having to figure out who's going to get what touches.
There's an ace in the hole of, and it rarely happens, right? But there are so many injuries right now to teams. The trade deadline's, I think, in 13 days. I mean, who knows what could happen there? It's so unlikely that Melvin gets traded to a team that's, playing relatively okay. But
John and Pemba made a really good point on this week on the Fantasy Alarm podcast. He said, if you're a Javonte Williams fan, you want to root for the Broncos to suck, because that's when you come in and use the young guys, right? And trade away the veterans. That's when, the Carlos Hyde gets traded away for Nick Chubb on the Browns. It's like, so you don't want this team to be competitive, because then they're going to be like, oh, we need the depth. You want them to be like, oh, we're not going to sign, we suck, and we're not going to sign Melvin next year, and no one's going to pay him a ton of money. So the comp pick we get is not going to be great. So let's just go ahead and trade him now. The problem with running backs is that, you have to trade him for more than the comp pick. You have to get back more than the comp pick is worth, right? So you can't trade him for a fifth or sixth, right? Because you're going to get that back when someone gives him $3 or $4 million, right? So it's like you kind of have to trade him for a third or fourth, really.
Right, and that only happens when it's like a contending team that just came off an injury that's desperate enough to want to salvage that season. It's really, the situation is not rare, but it doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah,
like everything kind of converging to that point.
Every once in a while, Carlos Hyde trade. So.
That's true. Yeah, or like even it's not running back, but I mean the whole Sam Bradford thing to the Philly.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right. So we have one more category, right? What is this last one?
What is something that you're looking to get more information on in week 7? I think since I'll lead this one off here.
Play the clip, dude. You can't do this category without playing that clip first, though.
I've got information, man. New shit has come to light.
I love that one, dude. I love that one.
Dude, it's so good.
It really is.
It's absolutely fantastic.
I gotta watch that movie again, man.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. I still haven't watched it, but it's going to happen. I'm going to coax Aaron into watching that this weekend, I think. So my thing I want to get more information on, we saw Rashad Bateman make his season debut for the Ravens, earning 66% of the routes. Very impressive for a first round rookie in his first game in week 6. So what I want to know is how this is going to shake out. And this may not be a question specifically for week 7, but as Bateman starts to get more ingrained into the offense, what's going to happen when Sammy Watkins comes back? Because, I mean, like I said, you had 27% targets per route run, 66% of the routes. We saw Devin Duvernay, who was running primarily on the outside, have his routes drop considerably from, week 5 to week 6. So that drop in route percentage should continue for Duvernay as Bateman just, he played 19 boundary snaps there. But when you're looking at these receiver groups here, when you're talking about, Marquise Brown is clearly locked in. The Ravens run one of the lowest percentages of 3 wide receiver sets in the league. So you have to figure the Ravens are going to be running a lot of two wide receiver sets. So who's going to be off the field in that case? Sammy Watkins, when he was healthy, was playing roughly 85 to 90% of the snaps every week as the X receiver. So, the one thing that I could totally see happening here, and it's not the right move, it's not the right move if you're a Rashad Bateman fan and you want to see him, get on the field, is that you could probably see Sammy Watkins and Bateman kind of rotating in, which if that happens, Bateman ain't going to be running 66% of snaps or routes. That's not going to happen. We've already seen Baltimore want to run the ball with like 2016's greatest hits with Freeman, Murray, and Le'Veon Bell. So who's to say that they're not going to go with, he's not as old as those 3 running backs, but Sammy Watkins just play that kind of veteran role, soaking up those, being tethered on the line versus Bateman. You don't want him getting, jammed up on the line. And, he was kind of more of a slot receiver at Minnesota anyway, though he could play outside. He could play inside and outside, but there's not really room for him to play on the inside with Marquise Brown there. I'm just very worried about Rashad Bateman. That's the one caveat that I have with Bateman. Otherwise, I'm completely sold on his role, with Baltimore passing way more, 11% more than they did last season. I believe they passed 52% of the time. They're up to 64% in the last 4 games. So it's very encouraging. It's just that little wrinkle.
Yeah. And the Ravens are the worst culprits in this thing. Like you talk about, because it's Patrick Ricard playing a ton of snaps. And if you go over to the annex and check his office, check Nick Boyle's office, and you'll notice that he actually just got designated for return from IR.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Coop's face, man.
So Nick Boyle is now back, baby. So when you have, if you think about it, you have 5 linemen and a quarterback, right? And then you have a running back, that's 7. If you have Nick Boyle and Patrick Ricard on the field at the same time, that's now 9. So like Kev said, they do that a lot. Mark Andrews on the field too, so that's 10. So oftentimes they're going to have 1 wide receiver out there, in like run heavy situations. So that is scary. So I'm definitely interested to see the information on that, because like you, I was very intrigued by the snap share I did not expect that. I did not expect him to play 45 snaps or whatever it was. That's a ton. I expected him to play like 10.
Yeah, I expected it. Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
Just that offense, if Bateman, Bateman, everybody said the Allen Robinson thing, but I genuinely just felt like he just reminded me of a young Allen Robinson. And imagine if you just had that tier. You have the running game, you have Andrews, you have Bateman, and you have Hollywood. Just be so sick. I don't know. I'm just really excited to see it. It's going to take a while. Hell, it might not even be till next year, and they tweak their offense and they do stop going with such kind of heavy packages and whatnot. But it would just change the entire dynamic of even more so what that offense can be. In one game, they can be any sort of this one team depending on situation. Mm-hmm. It'd be very exciting, but I guess that kind of also just sucks for fantasy.
Right. We've seen Lamar Jackson lead the league in passing touchdowns, throwing to nobody. So now that he has somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris Moore is not nobody. No.
Did you see what he did to the Patriots?
I saw, Gary. I did see. Thank you. David Culley brought his best friend over with him from the Ravens to play for the Texans. Yeah. The Patriots are. You know what? Mac Jones is. I'll just say I like Mac Jones's press conferences, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I like Mac Jones too. I'm a fan.
Yeah. So we're looking to the future here in New England.
Yeah.
And we're also looking to the future next season for baseball, apparently, too, because we got crushed again today. So
darn, you hate to see that.
Hockey season, am I right, guys?
Hockey.
It's a hockey podcast at its heart. So
yeah.
Do you want to do yours? That's your information one, Gary? Or you already got
Sure. Yeah. This is more just like a general idea. I talked about this earlier with Patterson. I literally pivoted twice during the podcast, but I always am curious what offenses are going to do after their bye. You've had a few weeks to implement something, and then it's hard to create a full new install, but over the bye you can. You think about the rookie quarterbacks and what they can do, or just rookie players in general and how they can get more integrated into the offense. And so part of this is the retrospect of what week 6 bye week those teams were, the Falcons, the Niners, the Jets, and I can't believe I just forgot the other one. Falcons, Niners, Jets, and whatever. And the Saints. And the Saints. And then, so what changes are those teams going to be able to make? Obviously, we've seen the Saints have this hodgepodge of just throw to anyone that you kind of can. Deontay Harris getting a 72-yard touchdown on 2 snaps. You have Winston that I still not sold that Winston is going to be their quarterback all year, but he's just been this crazy hyper efficient, like 3 to 5 touchdowns on 20 passes. So how do things change there? And then obviously with the Niners, you have Lance, you have Garoppolo. It sounds like from injuries requirement, Garoppolo is going to be their starter, even if Kyle has said that he wanted Jimmy to be their starter. So that probably doesn't help that Trey Lance has kind of sucked in his first couple starts. And then with the Jets and the Falcons in particular, those are the two ones that I really wanted to focus on. You have new head coaches bringing in their own schemes, and Arthur Smith kind of new era of the Falcons has not been great until, just the week prior to their bye when they came alive and Matt Ryan finally was hitting, but that was without Calvin Ridley. So just what the heck's going on there? Are they going to be able to get it going, get Calvin Ridley going? There's a lot riding on Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley because of how high we paid of a draft cost for Calvin Ridley. And then lastly, just the Jets. They might not be the highest ADP team by any means, but I think at least I'm one of those people that was excited about what Zach Wilson could do, what Robert Saleh could do, and Mike LaFleur, thank you. And then you have Elijah Moore being reintegrated into the offense after missing a couple games with Crowder and Corey Davis. I mean, there's pieces there. And so not only is it what's going to happen for those 4 teams, but this is also the reminder we're in the middle of bye-apocalypse. It sucks when your teams are on a bye, but there are some amazing, amazing things that can happen. Look at Tom Brady last year, where he was pre-bye and post-bye, and just assume that every quarterback in the NFL is Tom Brady after their bye week for the rest of the season. That's the lesson.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that the Saints at least transform what they're doing, because it's like I look at that team and I start Alvin Kamara, and can you possibly start anyone else from that team?
That's a negative. Not a chance.
Mix it up, guys. Come on, change it up.
I don't trust. Who can trust Marcus Callaway right now? I mean, box score grinders, checking the Monday morning newspaper are loving life on Marcus Callaway. I think he's the next great thing. But, the dude caught one of those underhanded YOLO balls 3 weeks ago and then caught that Hail Mary. That's 2 of his touchdowns and 40% of his yards right there.
Another dude that has multiple games with 1, 2, and 2 receptions. It's like, no. You can get that from Van Jefferson.
We haven't even reintegrated the Michael Thomas saga to all of this. Is Michael Thomas even going to want to come play for this team?
Michael Thomas, he's definitely got some sort of attitude stuff in general. Does he not? So that's a valid concern, Gary. That he might have looked at this team and been like, yeah, I'm gonna get knee surgery and take a little vacation. Yeah,
or just trade me.
Right. So, yeah. All right. Well, we're getting up against it here, so I'll get mine out there, and I want more. This is where we're getting information. I hope Bears
information, man. New shit has come to light.
I'm sorry, I had to.
No, you can interrupt me with that clip whenever you want, man. I love that one. That one's funny. If you interrupt me with a Michael Jordan clip, though, that's the one that pisses me off, dude.
Good to know.
In the middle of talking, and someone's just like,
"Stop it! Get some help."
I'll hit JB with that.
You got JB with that last podcast on the Besties, and he was pissed, dude. Man. The Bears, okay, this team wants to run the ball, right? But now they're going against the team that doesn't let you run it. We're talking 50 yards a game, right? And the next closest team in rushing yards per game is 70 or something like that. No running back has had more than 50, 60 at most versus team. My Patriots combined for -1 rushing yards against this team, the Bucs. So, yeah, yikes. So this week, I think the Bears are going to have to throw the ball. And when you look at guys on this team, right, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, these guys all have target shares above 16%. I think Cole Kmet's the lowest at 16.7, which when you think about it, they've only thrown 149 times. So if you get 24 targets out of 149, that's 16%. To put that in perspective, the team they're playing, the Buccaneers, they've thrown 270 times. Antonio Brown, who's on pace for like 1,300 yards and like a gazillion touchdowns, he has a target share of 15%, meaning Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and Cole Kmet all have higher target shares than AB, which, if you really think about it, if this offense for one time, just one time, was normal, right? And they threw it 30 or 40 times, 40 times. Some teams throw it 50, 60 times. If they just threw it 40 times one time, the 25% target share Allen Robinson has is 10 targets. The 16% target share that Cole Kmet has is some number that is mathematically impossible for me to calculate right now in my head, but it's 16% of 40. So it's got to be at least 5 or 6, right? So like we're talking about a game where they have to throw. I mean, like they have to, right? And if they just run the ball and lose, then everyone, Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace should be fired out of a cannon into the sun. End of my take.
Yeah, I agree. One silver lining here is that the Bears dropped back 37 times last week.
37 times? How'd they only throw 27 times? Did he run?
He ran and got sacked.
Come on.
So there's at least signs of life here. At the very least. I mean, Allen Robinson had 161 air yards. He had a 60% air yard share last week.
Dude,
with a Jair Alexander-less Packers team.
He's got to embrace that Mahomes meme. The Tyreek Hill's down there somewhere, right? Just start chucking them, dude. Just chuck it, dude.
Huck it, shuck it, football.
Huck it, dude. All right, we got to get that clip uploaded for next week. I forget what that's from.
That's from Zach and Miri Make a Porno.
Yes, yeah. Huck it, chuck it, football. Get that uploaded for sure. This by the end of the season. The show is going to be 10 minutes of us talking and 50 minutes of just random movie clips.
And we are never getting monetized ever. We're gonna get so many copyright strikes. Worth it. Don't care.
Yeah. I just added an actual like song that can get us a DMCA violation. Right?
It makes no sense at all.
You can't have that, right?
No. I mean that's short enough. We're good. But
it's only a problem if they think it's a problem.
That is true. I mean,
I have a real question.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin.
No, go ahead.
Allen Robinson, are you starting him this week against the this crazy soft defensive backs?
Yeah.
T. Higgins or Allen Robinson?
Oh, Gary.
That's tough.
Baltimore.
That's a tough
or
question.
Tampa Bay.
That's a tough.
I'd start Robinson. It's because Higgins' shoulder isn't exactly healthy either. And we know Chase is just the clear, and they're an efficiency-based passing game anyway. So,
plus CJ Uzoma is the top target over there.
So if you drop back 37 and you pass 27, whatever it is, against the Packers, if you drop back 40 times against Tampa Bay, do you only throw 20 times? Because that pass rush is going to be all over Fields and all over that back.
Cole Kmet, DFS, get every lineup.
Just let Kmet run like slot slants with legit 4 yards pop every time.
Yeah, that's the good
Let him box out.
Yep.
Let him box him out. Just let him play power forward.
This is the week that Matt Nagy gets fired.
Yep. I hope so.
I think
it'd be fun to see.
You think the Buccaneers put up like a 50 burger on the Bears? And
I think they might.
I think that we're hoping for that.
I think they're 12. I think they're 12-point favorites. Dude, who the heck made the schedule this week? By the way, 6 teams on bye. There's an awesome game, right? Chiefs Titans. It's at 1:00.
I mean, awesome if you're into bad Titans passing.
Right.
No, but going into the season, that was an awesome.
Yes.
But it should be like that. Should be the night game. Think about the night games on Sunday.
The NDSU Bowl. Well, it could have been, but Garoppolo's going to start.
Over unders on these games are like, what is it? Garoppolo against
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, and the other game is friggin'
Saints
Seahawks. Geno Smith against
Yeah. Did we ask Britain if they wanted a third London game?
Yeah,
send that Seahawks game over.
The Chiefs game is like a 57-point spread, and these other games are like 40. And those are the primetime games. And the Thursday night game is also like 40-point over-under, right? It's Broncos, Browns with no
versus Cleveland's AAA team.
Jeez, man. Flex schedule. Should whole be flexed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Packers play Washington. I don't know that could be a shootout, honestly, because Green Bay, they're just, I don't know. I feel like that game's could be a shootout.
Could be. Yeah,
could be. All right. I think we hit everything here. So let's get on out of here. Anything else we want to hit?
I complained about everything I wanted to complain about, I think.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
excited
I
for
hear
more
you.
movie clips, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you we'll put up some more clips next week. You can find us again on Twitter at K Tompkins Gary is at Haddow27, Andrew Cooper is at Coop Fiasco. For all you podcast listeners out there who want to find us on the World Wide Web, go to Viridian Global and buy some of our merch so we can feed our kids. Code Lightning Round at Viridian Global. Go to the Fantasy Football Collective and find Lightning Round on there. Use code Lightning Round for 25% off. If you want to use go to Underdog Fantasy, play some of the player prop parlays. Code Lightning will get you $10 free with any minimum $10 deposit. So other than that, fellas, I think it's time to sign off here. So
It makes no sense at all.
I just wanted to play that again.
We're getting canceled. That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. That's in the rotation. All right, everybody. We will see you next week. Good luck in your bye-mageddon, bye week hell, week 7. Later.